Have you ever felt that a friend or family member felt the sense of unease when faced with your success? And have you ever sensed a shadow of discontent behind an apparently sincere compliment? In a world where appearances can often be deceiving, how can we distinguish true joy from fake happiness? And above all, how can we protect ourselves from those who, for often hidden reasons, see our successes as a threat? In this Zen story, we will discover the 10 key signs to recognize those who feel envy towards us. So stay until the end, because we will learn to unmask false friends and defend ourselves from those who try to hinder our personal growth. But before we start, if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and share the video. With your support, we will be able to create increasingly interesting and useful content for your spiritual growth. In a remote village among the majestic mountains of Japan, in a place of peace and wisdom where time seems to have stopped, stands the ancient monastery where the monk Fujiwara lives. His enormous wisdom helped thousands of disciples and pilgrims who came to see him from every corner of the world. One day, a young woman named Keiko asked the master, "Fujiwara sensei, how can we recognize envy, that dark feeling that often hides behind smiles and compliments?" The monk smiled sweetly and began to tell a story that would move all the disciples. In a village at the foot of Mount Fuji lived a young woman named Hana, famous for her beauty and her skill in embroidery. His tapestries were works of art, requested by nobles and merchants throughout Japan. Hana had a best friend, Yoko, with whom she shared secrets and dreams. One day, Hana entered an embroidery competition and won first prize. Yoko, however, received no recognition. At first, Yoko was happy for her friend, but as the days passed, a worm began to gnaw inside her. Envy crept into his heart like a poisonous shadow, so he began to criticize Hana's embroidery, spread gossip about her, and feel malicious joy every time Hana made a mistake. Fujiwara observed his disciples, and happy to see them so attentive to his words, continued, "Dear disciples, you must know that envy, like a shadow, can hide in every corner, but with the right awareness, we can unmask it. Now I will reveal 10 signs that will help you recognize it, because there are behaviors and words that are repeated in those who feel envy. Poisonous compliments are the first sign you need to watch out for if you want to protect yourself from people who feel envious of you. Recognizing compliments that hide negative insinuations, such as "you were lucky" or "maybe it took you longer than others," is essential. These types of compliments, in fact, are attempts to belittle your achievements to make you insecure and make you believe that you did not deserve that particular positive result. Imagine that you have just completed a particularly complex and challenging work project. A colleague approaches you and, with a forced smile, says, "Congratulations for the on-time delivery. I wonder if you would have made it without the overtime." This is a clear example of a poisonous compliment, undermining your success by attributing it to external factors rather than your skills and effort. While the disciples reflected on their mentor's words, recalling in their memory the situations in which they had lived these experiences, Fujiwara continued his lesson. The lack of support is another sign to listen to. Remember that a true friend shares your joy in success. If someone, however, appears detached or indifferent, it is very likely that they feel envy. Listen to this example. You just got a job promotion that you've wanted for a long time. A friend to whom you usually confide your joys and sorrows, this time reacts with coldness and detachment. He doesn't congratulate you and shows no interest in your achievement. He remains impassive or even shows obvious annoyance. This attitude could be a sign of envy and jealousy, which leads him not to enjoy your success and to feel bad about it. Excessive competition is another important signal. Anyone who is envious of you could turn into an unfair rival who tries to hinder you instead of encouraging you. Imagine you are training for a marathon and you are getting great results. A training partner who initially supported you suddenly starts competing with you excessively, trying to sabotage your progress and hinder your results. This behavior could be a sign of envy, which leads him to not tolerate your success. A murmur arose in the temple hall. The disciples discussed with each other all the times they had found themselves in similar situations. The monk, after giving them time to reflect, went on to talk about gossip and rumors. Spreading harmful rumors to tarnish your reputation is a clear sign of envy, so be wary of anyone who behaves this way. Imagine this scene. You have just started a new relationship that makes you happy. An acquaintance with whom you do not have a particularly close bond begins to spread gossip about you, inventing false or distorted stories to tarnish your image and your happiness. This behavior is a clear sign of envy, which leads him to not tolerate your well-being. If someone feels inexplicable happiness when you fail, it is likely that they are motivated by envy and jealousy. The monk continued, introducing another sign to watch out for. I remember a musician who participated in a music competition and did not get first prize. A classmate who secretly aspired to his own recognition reacted to the news with an ironic smile and barely concealed joy. This behavior is a sign of envy, which leads him to take pleasure in your failure. Sudden mood changes are another clear sign of envy. A friend who alternates warm attitudes with coldness and detachment, for example, could suffer from envy and insecurity towards you. Imagine that you have reached an important milestone in your career and you organize a small party to celebrate with your friends. A friend with whom you have always had a close relationship suddenly appears cold and detached, avoiding taking part in the celebrations and sharing your joy. This change in mood could be a sign of envy, which leads him to not tolerate your success and to change the way he interacts with you. Master, is there also explicit envy? Are there any clear behaviors that envious people carry out? Asked one of the disciples. If someone openly criticizes your successes or expresses disappointment at your joy, it is a clear sign of envy. Fujiwara replied, I'll give you an example. You have just purchased the house of your dreams after years of sacrifices and hard work. A relative who has never achieved a similar goal openly criticizes your choice, calling it a useless luxury and a sign of ostentation. This behavior is a sign of envy, which leads him not to appreciate the goal you have achieved. Another signal that the Venerable Master spoke of was that linked to an excess of criticism. Those who are envious, he said, tend to constantly find fault with you and your actions, even when they are positive. I remember the story of a writer who published a book that was a great success among readers. An acquaintance who had always aspired to be a writer but had never had the courage to publish his works began criticizing his style and the book's plot. This behavior was a clear sign of envy, which leads him not to recognize the merits of others because he is too busy thinking about his own failures. Master, can even suddenly walking away be seen as a sign of envy? Asked another disciple. Yes, my dear. If someone suddenly walks away without explanation or becomes silent in the face of your accomplishments, they may feel envious. Imagine having obtained an important recognition that makes you very proud. A friend with whom you have always shared your successes and defeats suddenly walks away without giving any explanation. And, as if that wasn't enough, he becomes silent when you tell him about your achievement. Where once he would have spoken to you at length about that event, he now remains silent. This behavior could be a sign of envy, a sign that enjoying your success is painful for him. And speaking of your successes, another sign of envy is when those who feel this way work to devalue your successes. Those who are envious tend to minimize your successes or attribute them to external factors, such as luck or chance. Imagine you have just won a scholarship to attend a prestigious master's degree abroad. An acquaintance who has never had the opportunity to study at such a high level, downplayed your success by attributing it to luck or influential recommendations. This behavior is a sign of envy, which leads him not to recognize your abilities and commitment. As the sun gave way to the stars, and incense filled the air throughout the monastery, a disciple asked, "How can we defend ourselves from people who feel envious of us?" My dears, in addition to knowing how to identify people who feel envy, it is important to build a life based on healthy values and positive relationships, replied the monk. Surround yourself with people who support, encourage, and inspire you. Furthermore, nourish your self-esteem and self-confidence so that you are less vulnerable to the attacks of envy. And then work to develop a greater awareness of yourself and the world around you. You can do this through meditation. Learn to manage your emotions in a healthy way and not let yourself be influenced by the judgments of others. Remember that envy is a problem for those who feel it. It is not your problem. Therefore, it is not necessary to change who you are or what you do to please those who envy you. Your inner light is precious and must be preserved and shared with the world.